Welcome to my YouTube channel, Alfred Atanda, MD,
where we discuss hot topics in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, telemedicine, and other digital health innovations,
and vlog about day-to-day life as a physician. Please enjoy the next video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.
We did a nice little seminar yesterday for some athletic directors on the topic of sports specialization in youth athletes. And I know this is a very hot topic. A lot of you parents out there have young kids that play sports. You yourselves played sports, and the going trend is to play. Practice makes perfect. Get your kids in year-round sporting activities, year-round games, practices, private coaching, private tutoring, showcases, and that seems to be the trend. But you know, sports specialization in and of itself is a good idea on paper, but the idea of staying healthy and thinking about the long-term benefits of sporting activities and exercise doesn't necessarily lend itself very well to playing year-round. One of the big questions that a lot of parents have is, well, if I want my child to be really good and I want them to excel and I want them to be able to get to that next level, they have to play all the time, because practice makes perfect, and developing skills is what gets you to be at the top high school or an elite high school, even collegiate and professional ranks. This theory was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers, which basically talked about how the more you practice something, the better you're going to be, and that's how you get to be at the top of your game. And it uses people like Tiger Woods and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant as examples of people who really excel at what they do and how many hours that they put in to their sport and their endeavors. And it talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And basically, if you do something for 10,000 hours, then theoretically you'll become a master, and you'll be really good, and you'll be better than the other people around you. But a lot of that research was actually done with high-level musicians and chess players and people who were doing something a lot, but it wasn't something necessarily physical, so it didn't lead to the detriment of their bodies and their health. And I think a lot of people, specifically parents and coaches, have run with this and have applied it to youth sports. And I think that's not the best thing to be doing. Specifically, a lot of these kids are very young. Some of them are 8, 9, 10 years old, and they're playing 6, sometimes 7 days a week, 8, 9, 10, 11 months out of the year. They're playing multiple sports throughout multiple seasons. They're not really getting an off season. And basically, as a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, I mean, we're seeing the downsides of that. My whole career is based on doing surgery on youth athletes. So I think, my take on sports specialization is that we really want to diversify what the kids are doing, and playing multiple sports throughout the year is probably what's best. And there's a lot of evidence out there that suggests that athletes at really high elite levels actually grew up playing multiple sports and didn't really focus on one particular sport till they were about 15 or 16. For all the football fans out there, somebody you may have heard of, Tom Brady. You may not like him if you're not a Patriots fan, but he didn't play organized, serious football until he was in 9th grade. And as you all know, he's one of the greatest of all time, and he's really excelled and outperformed pretty much anybody at his position. And he was about 14 years old before he started playing formal, organized football. He was actually a soccer player, believe it or not, when he was young. And for whatever reason, he picked up football, and the rest is history. I mean, he's only one example, but I mean, if somebody like him played a bunch of different sports growing up, and waited till he was a little bit more mature to get really serious and focus on one particular sport, I think that's the really good evidence to suggest that if your kid is playing multiple sports while they're growing up, they're not really getting left behind. They're probably giving their bodies a break and resting different muscle groups and tendons and ligaments and such, so they're not stressing things over and over throughout the year. This idea of organized play versus free play is a good one, because we want our kids to be healthy. We want them to be active. And we're not saying that they shouldn't be active and shouldn't play around throughout the year. We're saying that they shouldn't do organized, structured play more than 8 months out of the year of the same sport. When your kids get home from school and they go in the backyard and they play pickup basketball and they run around on their own and they play hide and seek, I mean, that's all good free play, and it's very, a good workout, and it's good activity for them. But when they tend to do that and they have a problem, or they're in pain, or they're tired, they usually get up and go home. But when you organize things and you put a uniform on and you travel halfway across the country to go and do something, and when mom and dad pay thousands of dollars a year for you to do something, the kids have a little bit of undue pressure and stress to perform. And if they are hurt, or they are exhausted, or they are having problems, they're usually going to play through it. And that's when we see a lot of the overuse injuries. So the big things that we worry about, obviously, are the overuse injuries that stem from pushing their bodies to the limit, the overuse of physical injuries, but also the mental aspect of things. We see a lot of stress, a lot of undue, a lot of burnout in some of our young kids, because they are being pushed to the brink by themselves, because a lot of them are motivated, but also by their parents and coaches and external forces. So some of those downsides of really playing all the time sometimes overshadow the skills that the kids are going to develop by playing a lot. I mean, the main goal of athletic activity that we motivate for our kids is really for long-term athletic development. I'm 41 years old, just about, and I want my kids to be my age and to still be active. I want them to be able to run and jog and be physically fit. It's not necessarily my 9-year-old son or my 6-year-old son being the strongest or the fastest or the best at what they do while they're doing it at that age. I want them to be active for a lifetime. And most of the time that you spend on this planet, you're not really going to be playing organized sports, believe it or not. And I know for a lot of you parents out there and you kids out there who are playing sports, it doesn't seem that way. But God willing, you live to be about 90 years old. I mean, you'll probably spend 70 years on this planet not playing organized sports. But you do want to be fit, you do want to be healthy, and you do want to be active. And I think the goals of youth sports should really be centered around developing a lifelong athlete, somebody who's going to be physically fit for the continuum of their life on this planet, as opposed to somebody who's going to dominate and excel at the age of 10 or 12 or 15. And I think that should be the focus, because focusing it on the long term, on the long haul, and looking at your athletic career as a marathon is really going to allow you to take breaks intermittently. It's going to allow you to protect your body. It's going to allow you to be healthy and think about the long term, as opposed to the short term gains that you get from winning and playing in tournaments, being on teams, and so on and so forth. Even though that's all important, it's not really the end all be all of what we should be teaching our kids and how we should be motivating them towards physical fitness. All I'm saying is, I do want kids to be active. I want kids to have fun. I want them to play sports. I grew up playing soccer and a whole bunch of other sports. I think focusing on one sport too early probably isn't the best thing to do. I think waiting till your child is about 14, 15, 16 years of age till they get really serious about one sport is probably a safe way to go in terms of long-term health. I think focusing on their long-term health and treating their bodies and their athletic career as a long journey and as a marathon that needs to last and last and last well into their old age, I think is a good mindset to have. I think playing sports, playing a multitude of sports is probably the safest thing, as opposed to focusing on one thing too early. I think taking about 4 months off a year from organized sports is probably a good amount of time for an off season to really give your body a chance to recover. Now, you don't have to do that all at once. You can probably break that up, 6 weeks here, a month there, 6 weeks here. But I think giving your child's body time to recover and recuperate is really going to benefit them long term. And most importantly, we want them to be kids. We want them to have fun. We want them to enjoy themselves. Obviously, as adults, we do facilitate some of the play that they do. We have to pay for their sports. We have to get them to their sport. But we do have to remember that this is their journey, this is their adventure, and this is their life. We can't infuse adult issues and money issues into that, overshadowing the real reason why we're doing all of that.